Nick already has it. What is up, Loudmouth Sports Talk, Loudmouth Sports Group? It is once again Sean and Luch. Actually, it is the Off the Top Rope Chief and Loudmouth Luch coming at you with Loudmouth Off the Top Rope. And Luch, this is my show. Just get that right. It is
Luke
my
Jonah
show.
for president 2020. You see it. You already know. He thinks he's something.
I know I'm something. So, big things that happened in this week in wrestling. And, of course, we have our special guest on with us. And his name is Nick Lendl from ROH. The voice of ROH is joining us on the show. Nick, how are you doing, brother? Hopefully, looks like we're having some technical difficulties on his end. But before anything else, folks, make sure you go to your... Oh, man, it is all messed up today. Nick, what's going on, brother? Can you hear us? Looks like we're having some technical difficulties with him. But make sure, folks, that you go to bombshellbowling.com/Loudmouth Sports Talk to get your Loudmouth apparel. We got our t-shirts and our hoodies, folks. T-shirts, $20. Hoodies, $40. Anything 2X and L bigger is $45. Bombshellbowling.com, Loudmouth Sports Talk. Miss Michelle is great with our apparel, so make sure you go there today and get your apparel. We are trying to get Nick on. It seems that he's having some technical difficulties on our end. But until he gets on, Luch, big news. Alexa Bliss on Friday Night SmackDown.
That might have been
channeled her inner Fiend, I'm thinking.
My bad. Hey, George. Not right now. Not right now. We're trying to be serious. We got a show going on. But man, I thought it was amazing. I was freaking out. I was like I don't know if this is the turn. I don't know if this was the official, hey, I'm Sister Bliss, or however they're going to play it. But all I know is, let me in. When that came on, I was freaking out. It was amazing.
As you can see, folks, we're trying to get Nick Lendl on. He might be having some computer issues or Wi-Fi issues or whatever the case.
Like you, George.
But yes, that is why we think Luch is taller than what he really is.
Bro, because I can't set my laptop on the ground, so I put it on the table. I'm only 5 foot. I know it's crazy. I'm only 5 foot though.
But Alexa Bliss with her inner Fiend coming out. Bailey with her great promo on both Sasha and Nikki and Nikki Cross. Great promo. Another great promo I thought we saw this week was Roman and Jey Uso That shit hit home. That shit
Listen,
wasn't written. That
No.
wasn't scripted.
you can't tell me. I don't care if Vince McMahon himself told me somebody wrote that for Jay. I would not believe that. The way he said it, the emotion that came with it was just like, I don't know if that was like, honestly, I was sitting there amazed because I didn't know if was this like off the top or was this like he written it or did him and Paul or him, Paul and Roman. I don't know who or what, but that was an amazing promo. Amazing promo.
All right, I think we have it going here. Nick, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi where I am. Sorry about the trouble there. I'm having
Oh, that's all right.
trouble staying on, I guess. I'm in now, so we'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah. So once again, folks, our fans out there, we have the voice of ROH, Nick Lendl, on with us. Nick, give us a little bit of background, man. We know you're from Pittsburgh. You're a hometown boy from Pittsburgh, but give us a little background and how you got started with the whole announcing.
Well, I wouldn't say the voice. I'm definitely number 2 behind Bobby Cruise. He's the voice of Ring of Honor, and obviously he's given me a lot of opportunities. A lot of the reason that I'm on TV as much and getting as many opportunities as I have been with Ring of Honor is definitely because of Bobby Cruise. So, because if he watches this and he hears you say that, he's gonna give me hell for it. So I want to clear that up, but I appreciate you guys saying that. That's awesome. A background about me, obviously, you said I'm from Pittsburgh. Always wanted to be involved in the wrestling business somehow. So I decided on, the fact that I wanted to be an announcer probably when I was in high school. So from there, I got in touch with Justin Roberts, who was the WWE ring announcer at the time. Now he's on AEW every week. One of the best in the business, and he's a good guy too. I've talked to him on a few separate occasions. But I went to college at Robert Morris in Pittsburgh, and graduated with a journalism degree, communications, broadcasting, what have you. And through many letters and texts, emails, what have you, I eventually got an opportunity to go to the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. And they were having a tour of the Performance Center that I was a part of. And just getting to know me like you're asking right now, I gave the background, letting them know that I wanted to be a ring announcer, and it was that easy. They said, well, we have a live in-house show today. Why don't you go in the ring and we'll see how you do. So literally like that, I was able to get in the ring in the WWE Performance Center, which is the holy grail of wrestling. This is 2015. And that was the first bit of announcing experience I had. I was at the Performance Center, did the tour, and the whole reason I signed up for the tour in the first place was because they said after the tour there would be a Q&A session with the Performance Center staff. So that was enough for me to want to go and make a run at this, because I said that I'll go through the tour, I'll keep my mouth shut and I'll smile. And then as soon as we sit down for the Q&A session, I'm going to raise my hand and ask them how I become a ring announcer. And I didn't even have to do that. They had asked me a little bit of my background, and within 15 minutes, I had a full run sheet of the NXT show for that night in my hand. And I was originally supposed to do the first match, which was a tag team match. And it was Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. They weren't the Iconics then, but they were a tag team, and they teamed up. They teamed up against Liv Morgan and Aaliyah, who is getting more time on NXT now. And that was the first match that I ever ring announced. That was the first time that I had actually gotten to do that. So when that happened, I thought that I had done everything I wanted to do. I just lived my dream right there in those 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And from there, one of the guys with the headsets came over and said they want you to do another match. So I announced the second match, Ty Dillinger and that was Sean Spears, now in AEW. And I'm not sure who he was wrestling. They did give me back some of the footage, but I only got the entrance of Ty Dillinger and Alexa Bliss, as I'll get to. But I can't remember for the life of me who Sean Spears faced. But that was the second match. And then a couple minutes later, they came up to me with my name on the run sheet again, and they asked me if I wanted to do a championship match, which I was, hell yeah, man, like let's do it, you know. So I got in the ring, and it was the NXT Women's Title match. At the time, Bayley was still the champion, and it was her versus Alexa Bliss. So in one afternoon, I had announced Sean Spears, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, the Iconics, and from there, it was kind of like, all right, you know, show's over. Thanks, everyone. You know, they came over, shook my hand, said I did a good job, and then they, you know, went to go our separate ways. But I couldn't let that be it. So I stopped Matt Bloom, who is still the head coach at the Performance Center. And I said, you know what, I really want to do this. I said, this is more than a bucket list thing for me. You know, this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do. I want to proceed with this. You know, I want to make a run at this. And he told me, well, you know, you have something there, because he said a lot of the wrestlers were whispering that I was actually pretty good, because I guess they just thought they were doing their token deed for the day, letting the Mark go in the ring and ring announce some matches. But they did get back to me. A couple of weeks later, they got back to me. They sent me an email, which was full of clips of me announcing. They sent me pictures of myself in the ring. They made me headshots, and they said that they wanted me to start working some indie shows, which I had never tried to get into the indies per se. When I got out of college, I had immediately started sending letters to WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor. I never even thought of the indies, because my perception of the indies, when I was growing up, when I was a fan, I went to WWE shows. You know, I went to WWE shows at the Civic Arena, Mellon Arena, whatever. I didn't go to the local indie show on the weekend. And from watching documentaries and seeing that footage, to me, I thought independent wrestling was guys that'll never make it, working in a high school gym with basketball hoops and 20 people in the crowd. Yeah. And that was just something I did not want to be a part of until I got in touch with IWC, which is the biggest independent company in Pittsburgh, I would say, in Pennsylvania. They're one of the best around. A lot of talent has come through there. Former world champion there is Wardlow, who is featured with MJF on AEW every week. He's an IWC homegrown talent. Right now, their sort of mid-card champion right now in IWC is Brian Pillman Jr. So obviously, big names coming through there. I was invited to come and be a part of their show backstage and kind of see the atmosphere. And at that time, I think I was invited because the perception was that I had come from NXT, which obviously isn't the case. Right. But I think, I mean, my profile picture at the time was me in the ring with a WWE microphone. So the perception was there. So they reached out to me, invited me to their show. I talked with the owner, who is Justin Plummer, who has given me so many opportunities. And within a couple months, I was the A ring announcer. I was doing backstage interviews. I was doing commentary, but my passion was ring announcing. And there's another guy, Dave Kitch, who announces for IWC, and he's really good as well. So when he's there, we kind of split the ring announcing duties. I do more of the backstage aspect. But it was IWC where I really felt like this is what I've always wanted to do, because in IWC, it isn't, 5,000-10,000 people, but consistently for IWC, they draw between 400 or 500 people every show. And the building they run in, they have staging, full 3 HD camera shoots, 4K. The last couple of events have been outside, and we've had drones. The production quality is there. And within a couple months of working there, started working boxing events locally in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, boxing, MMA, I've announced for a jiu-jitsu company called Kasai. They only run a few times a year, but I've worked with them in New York and Dallas, a few other places. And from there, I got invited to a Ring of Honor tryout, which was, my opportunity in, basically, because at the time, what you say, why are you doing this? It was to get to WWE, to get to Ring of Honor, to get to Impact, whatever the situation was. So there was a tryout for Ring of Honor I was invited to. There was about 30 people there. I would say maybe 25, 26 wrestlers, a handful of managers, valets, whatever, and referees as well. And then me. I was the only announcer there, trying out, auditioning, whatever you want to say. And I got pulled aside right away by Prince Nana, who's part of the foundation of Ring of Honor. He's not on TV as much anymore, but always an ambassador for the company. He's the guy that pulled me aside and said, hey, they really like you. So this is what I think you should do. This is what you should do next. And, they're going to start using you. So the way they had the tryout set up was they had all of the guys. Like I said, there was probably 26 guys. So they paired them off and they had matches. And I ring announced all the matches. And luckily for me, a lot of the guys at the tryout came from the Monster Factory in New Jersey, which I was working with that summer pretty consistently. So I knew a lot of the guys. Right. So when I was doing the ring announcing, it wasn't just, okay, coming out is so-and-so. I had the hometowns. I had the weight because I had worked with these guys before. And I think that was impressive about it. What I had done too was I knew everything. So following the tryout, Ian Riccaboni pulled me aside, and he's one of those guys where I've heard a lot of times people say that Mick Foley was too nice of a guy to be in the wrestling business. And I feel like that's Ian Riccaboni to a T. One of the nicest people I've ever met, never seen him mad. Always so excited to see everybody, always so helpful and positive. And he's turned into a really good friend. Meanwhile, I'm talking off subject here. Meanwhile, Ian pulled me aside at the end of the tryout and he said, we want to use you. Now at the tryout, and this is how they test to see how bad you want it. They don't say yes or no to giving you a contract right there. They don't say, yep, we want you, here's your contract, or no, come back in a year. They give you a yes or no based on if you're ready to be on TV. And then you go from there. They might say, yeah, we'd use you in an enhancement match, but you're not ready for a feature program yet. Or, yeah, we'd use you in a backstage segment, but you're not ready to have a title match, or whatever the deal may be. So they gave me the yes. And they said, you're TV ready. And it wasn't like, okay, you're TV ready. Here's some dates. Here's what we're going to pay you. It wasn't like that. And the other guys that they gave the yes to as well, they were testing them in the sense that afterwards, like I said, Ian Riccaboni pulled me aside. Some of the coaches that were there at the time, Jay Lethal, Frankie Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, they pulled some of these wrestlers aside and they said the same thing Ian told me. They said, here's a list of our dates, that if you get to these dates, we will use you. And it wasn't a booking. It wasn't a money guarantee. It wasn't anything except for if you get there, we will use you. So I had that going for me. And part of it was to see if they would, me included, if we would show up. Because a lot of those guys say, okay, yeah, they'll use me. But the next show, which was in North Carolina, they might say, oh, that's too far of a drive, or that's a flight for me. I'll catch the next one. And then 6 months go by. And then when you show up, no one remembers you. So the next show, which it was only a week or two away, and it was in North Carolina. So I got a couple buddies together and I said, I'm going to get a hotel room. I'm going to rent a car and we're all going to take a weekend trip to North Carolina. And I got to the arena, introduced myself to everybody, and they used me that night for the dark match. That's the first time I met Bobby Cruz. And luckily me and him hit it off right away. And it could have been bad because it could have been the opposite, where Bobby Cruz sees it as some young kid coming in to take his spot. which, I mean, in a way, you know, I do want that spot. You know, it's not
Right.
like, you know, I want to be a backup forever. But the point is that I wanted to learn from him. You know, to this day, I still think Bobby Cruise is the best ring announcer in the business. He's better than anybody on WWE right now. He's better than anybody anywhere. And I think Bobby Cruise is better than Justin Roberts. I think Bobby Cruise is the absolute best. And when the time does come for Bobby to walk away, you know, I would almost want him to give me that spot rather than me taking it from him, because I wouldn't want anything like that to happen. But it was that situation for a while. So they used me in North Carolina, and I looked at the next date, which was the following weekend in Atlanta, Georgia, which from Pittsburgh is like an 11-hour drive, maybe.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to look at flights. So me and my buddy, Joe Mandak, who's on Ring of Honor every week as a referee, he's become a real good friend of mine, and he was working some of the local indie shows I was working. And he was at that tryout that I was at, and they gave him the yes too. So me and him talked, and I paid for the hotel room, he paid for the airfare, and we flew ourselves to Atlanta. So we show up at the arena. They used him for a couple matches as a referee, and Bobby was late to the arena that day for whatever reason, and I'm just hanging out, sitting in the crowd in my suit, and all of a sudden Cody Rhodes starts walking my way, and it looks like he's coming to talk to me, but he might just be walking over. And I've introduced myself to Cody at this point, but he didn't know me from anybody else in that arena, you know?
Right.
And he pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I want to use you for something." He says, "Hey, I have this idea." He said, I want to have my own Ring of Honor. He said, "I got this made. Check it out." And he opens this box, and there's this huge ring, and it's an ROH ring. And they kind of use that idea to for the ring they use now on AEW, which MJF was kind of taken over in that aspect. But for a while, Cody would come out with the ring, and he would try to make his opponent, you know, he'd hold it in their face and try to make his opponent kiss the ring before the match. Well, this is the episode where he wanted to debut the Ring of Honor. So he's in the ring, and when he gives me the signal, he's going to wave his hand, and I come down the ramp holding the Ring of Honor, and he has me open it, and I open it and show the crowd. And then he says, "Well, now I want you to kiss it." And he has me kiss the ring, and I can't tell you how awesome of a guy Cody was. You know, he went down every detail of what was going to happen in the segment with me. Are you okay with this? If you think this is embarrassing you, I won't do it. And I had never been on TV at this point, because from this point I had just done the dark match, you know. So this is a TV segment with Cody Rhodes. I know it's not going to be cut from the broadcast. You know, you could, you know, rip me naked and pee on me in the middle of the ring, man, at this point. Like, I'm going to be on TV. You can do whatever you want, buddy. So he has me kiss the ring, and to make it seem like, you know, he had sweetened the deal a little bit, he pulls out his wallet and gives me this stack of cash to make it look like, oh, the only reason that guy kissed the ring was because he paid him. Oh, he wouldn't have actually done that, you know. So I get to the back, and I'm in the gorilla position, and I have this stack of money, and it's like $200-300 that he just pulled out of his wallet and just said, "Here." So I'm waiting at the gorilla position to give it to him, and he comes back, and I give it to him, and he says, "Oh no, man, that's yours. Good job." So he let me keep that money. So
wow,
I had that money. Unbelievable, you know, from first time being on TV, interacting with Cody Rhodes, who's now one of the biggest names in the business. And back then he was just on the rise to becoming what he is now. But it was that way for a while. I flew myself to Lakeland, Florida. I drove to Philadelphia, trying to think of, you know, other cities. And then eventually I got an email saying that Bobby Cruise couldn't do a show, and they wanted to use me. So this is the first time I am booked for this show. I am on a flight. They have me in a hotel. First time I got a check from Ring of Honor. And since that day, I have, you know, knock on wood, I've been booked pretty consistently with the company. When Bobby is there, I'm kind of the the pre-show master of ceremonies. I walk through the crowd and talk to the people about the matches. I ask the fans who they're here to see. I plug the merchandise, run down the card, the whole deal. And then I usually do the dark match, and then I bring Bobby out for the show. But when Bobby's not there, I have slid into that role pretty consistently. And I think I've done, at this point, probably between 10 and 15 Ring of Honor shows by myself. And
Awesome.
it happened again, just coincidentally. Bobby had a booking conflict. They just had their first set of tapings since the pandemic. They haven't.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that.
How
How
any
has
new
that
content?
been?
All
How's
of
that
their
been?
content for the last few months has been reruns and everything. We went to Baltimore. We were in Baltimore for an entire week, and like I said, Bobby had a scheduling conflict, so I got slid into that role, and it was pretty intense. They said there was going to be a bubble, which I knew. You know, we weren't allowed to go here, and we had to kind of remain in the same vicinity. But when we got there, we learned that it wasn't just stay by the hotel or stay in this radius. It was stay in your room. So they went above and beyond to make sure that everybody was safe and that nothing was going to compromise the taping, because the rule was beforehand, if more than 3 people tested positive for the virus, they would shut down the whole production. So they had all these wrestlers flown in, driven in, whatever, staying in this hotel, planning to tape 8 weeks of TV, and they're going to test over 100 people. And if 3 of those people fail this test, then the whole thing's off. And like I said, we got there Monday, and we had to be in our room. Anything we needed, they brought to us as far as room service or Grubhub, DoorDash, what have you. Everything up to ice. We would just call the front desk and they would have it delivered, but under no circumstances were we allowed to leave our room, which is pretty crazy to think, you know, like,
Yeah.
So Monday we're in our room. Tuesday we wake up, get the test, back in your room. Wednesday you get the result of your test. Thursday back in your room, and then we taped all day. Friday and Saturday, did the Pure Title tournament, which is now airing every week. I think this week is week number 3. And like I said, you know, because what I've done over the last few years, I slid into that role, and now coincidentally, I'm on 8 weeks of TV. You know, it just doesn't get any better. You know, like, I'm absolutely, you know, living my dream. I wouldn't change anything right now.
That's awesome,
Amazing.
man. I mean, amazing story. That is just awesome. Like, everything you've gone through. Because I mean, me personally, like I was in training for IWC probably years back when they were actually in a gym in, like, out by, like, Denora. They didn't even have this facility. They were in actually like an old middle school with just the ring. And my trainer was Joe. He was I forget his actual, but Shirley Doe was my other trainer.
Was Joe, you mean Super Hentai?
Super Hentai was my trainer. Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, both good
like,
guys. Shirley Doe and Super Hentai both know a lot about the business.
Yeah.
And I still run into them every once in a while, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. I had no idea that, you know, you even knew what IWC was, let alone training there.
Yeah, I was training there, and believe me, I get it, man. Like, they had shows with us, and they were like, "Hey, you guys going to be like in the ring, like not doing anything in the ring, but you guys are like, make sure that no one jumps in the ring, and no one does this, no one does that. Just get to the show, and you got to be at CCAC campus. Just get there." I said, I didn't even get paid to do it. Like, I showed up, I did it. I didn't even get money at the end of the show. So they were like, just keep showing up. And then, of course, I got hurt and injured. But, yeah, man, it sounds like that's, like, just an awesome adventure that you, like, just that wild ride.
That's the same way it was for me, too. Like, I don't want to make it seem like, well, I did this and I did WWE and then I started here and now I'm in Ring of Honor and I'm the man. Like, I don't – because it was not like that at all. Even when I got to IWC, like I said, there was already a ring announcer there.
Yeah.
They wanted to slide me into some role. And for the first couple events, you know, I did not get paid. And I didn't know how long that would last. But I thought, and it's so hard explaining these things to your wife or your mom and dad who aren't wrestling fans. They don't have this passion for the business. So they don't understand why you're driving 2 hours to do this and make no money. They don't understand why are you paying to fly yourself to Atlanta for maybe an opportunity and not get paid for it. You know, that's what this business is about. And very much in the beginning, your pay is being a part of it, you know, and for me, you know, and now, you know, I don't want to say I'd probably still do it for free. That's how much fun I have. But, you know, those first couple shows, especially when you're, you know, a little boy or a teenager and you're watching, you know, WWE, and then you get to the point where you're in the ring with Chris Jericho, you know, it's really surreal. And there's a lot of times where I sit back and I just have to appreciate where I am, because the first event that I ever announced for at IWC, I announced Booker T and Tatanka and Jeff Jarrett, like all these guys like I watched growing up, and they're just in the same locker room as me. You know what I mean? That's such an eye opener, and you know, it could end tomorrow. You know, but I don't want to say I have any regrets, any goals. I don't want to say I don't, because I always want to get farther. But last year, Ring of Honor did the show at Madison Square Garden. And you're telling me 5 years ago, I would have never guessed that I would be in the middle of the ring at Garden.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my biggest question, like my other question, man, is like, did you ever think of being a wrestler at one time before being a ring announcer?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, I definitely wanted to be a wrestler, but I mean, I played sports all through high school, and I was in the gym every day. And after being in the gym every day for like 3.5 years, I was 175 pounds, you know, and this is before things were got to be the way they are now. You know, there's a good portion of the roster that is between 150 and 180 pounds. You know, they have a whole roster for those guys now. And there's a lot of big stars on the indies that fit that description. Darby Allin, who's being featured so much on AEW, is smaller than me as I sit here. You know, so maybe 10 years later, I would have tried to get into the wrestling aspect. But by the time I was a senior in high school, I got really serious, because all my life, all I wanted to do was be a wrestler. And every day, or every first day of school, when they ask you what you wanted to be, I always wanted to be a wrestler. And then when you get to being in 11th, 12th grade, these people are really actually starting to pursue a career after school. And I was still in wrestling mode. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to become a police officer. I'm going to go to medical school and become a doctor. Well, my thing was, okay, well, I know to be a ring announcer from talking to Justin Roberts, I need to go to school for communications and broadcasting. So I'm going to find a local school, because at the time my mom was really sick. She was battling breast cancer at the time. So I didn't want to be away. So I wanted a local school. I settled on Robert Morris. So it was from there, it was on to the next. Yeah, I have to graduate here. And then once I graduate, then I'm going to look at the future, you know, whereas a lot of these people were settled into their careers or their full-time jobs at this point. I was still pursuing, you know, what I wanted. And it took me a little while to get there, you know, but it is cool now, you know, where I'm at, that when I do run into people, that they see that. And it's not so much that I want someone to come up to me and say, hey, I saw you on TV the other day, because that's cool. But what I really appreciate is when people come up to me and say, hey, you know what, man, I remember when we were in 3rd grade, and you know, my mother hated when you would come to our house, because she knew that if you were coming over that we were going to wrestle, you know, like those things. It's like, you've always wanted to do this, and now you're actually doing it. And that's what's cool, because I wanted to be a ring announcer, and now I'm a ring announcer. You know, a lot of people didn't grow up saying, I want to sit in a cubicle for 12 hours. A lot of people didn't grow up saying, you know, and it just seems like that's what I'm most proud about. and now looking to the future, I have 2 little girls, and being in the business has granted me the fortune of being able to stay home with them, especially now. My oldest is just started 1st grade, and she's completely online with school. And now I get to stay home during the day. My wife works full time during the week, but I do the wrestling thing on the weekends or travel with Ring of Honor, what have you. So I'm home during the week with them. And I'm so fortunate that I can go on the iPad with my daughter and log her in. And because if it would be left up to my parents or her parents to watch the girls while I was at work, they couldn't do that. And that's the hardest thing with all these kids going back to school. They're just expecting their parents to become acclimated to this new way. And a lot of parents don't have that, advantage of having one parent home. They got to find childcare. And I've been fortunate enough. But what I was getting back to, my point is, now that my girls are getting a little older, I want them to realize that they can do what they want to do because their daddy did it. It's a lot of people will tell, teachers, their coaches, whatever, will tell them their whole life that if they work hard, they can be whatever they want to be. But when they see that example at home, they know, it is possible. So whenever they do find that passion, I want them to say it's possible because my dad did what he wanted. And that's what makes me more proud than anything, is them understanding that, daddy had a dream and, he's doing it, which sometimes I still can't believe.
So at any time during an announcing, have you ever had those problems where you think you've messed up the lines or messing up?
I've messed up a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I've messed up many times. I was announcing, there was a Ring of Honor card where it was a joint card with New Japan and Ring of Honor. So Hiromu Takahashi was on the show and Minoru Suzuki were both on the show. And I announced Hiromu Takahashi as Minoru Takahashi. There was a time where Cody Rhodes faced Matt Taven, and Cody Rhodes won the match. And for some reason, I said the winner was Matt Taven. There's been a time where I announced a match and I only announced the first guy and the second guy hadn't come out yet. But for some reason, I had got out of the ring and started walking back to my spot, and I had to get back in the ring when the second. Oh yeah, there's tons of mess ups, and I'm probably missing way more than I'm thinking of now. But oh yeah, that's why I hate it whenever people give people crap on if Mike Rome, the Raw ring announcer, messes something up or something, because you can know everything about this business. I know who Hiromu Takahashi is. I know who Minoru Suzuki is. I know they're 2 different people, but just getting tongue-tied. And, one time I was sitting ringside where Bobby Cruz was announcing Jay White, who is from Auckland, New Zealand, and Bobby Cruz announced him from Australia. Just on a whim, and wrestlers mess up too. So it's not like a football game where if you're a receiver and if you're a cornerback and you get beat by the receiver, you're going to get taken out of the game. Everybody makes mistakes, no matter how long you've been doing it, how good you are. So I'm not perfect by any means.
So if you can announce any dream match, what would be your dream match to announce? It could be anybody.
See, that's a tough question. My favorite wrestler of all time is Edge. I just love Edge because he was somebody that wanted to do it from the time he was little. He was somebody that said, I'm going to do this. And he had no backup plan. He was 100% in, and he made his dream a reality. And that's what, and it sounds kind of corny, but that is what makes wrestling real to me is, when a guy wins a championship, he's not really winning the championship. We all know it's scripted. I'm not giving anything away here by telling you guys it's scripted, but to see a guy work hard and to get to that level because he's earned that spot, that's what makes it real. To see Edge not only make it to WWE, but becoming one of the greatest stars of all time. And that even if he's 15, 20 years into his career, he's still that 8-year-old little boy that had that dream. And I think that's most visible when he returned at the Royal Rumble this year. He came out, and the ovation that the people gave him, it kind of, took him back a little bit. You can see in his face, and that's what I love. I love seeing those guys who want to be there and aren't just there because they got plucked from a Arnold Classic or some kind of fitness competition that they said, oh, you'd look great on TV. And there's no disrespect to guys that come from the outside world, because Braun Strowman, Baron Corbin, all those guys were never on the indies, and now they absolutely have a passion for what they do.
Right.
So that passion, not to say, I respect them any less because they've developed the same passion that I have, but it's special when you see those people that have wanted it the entire time and they finally make it. Someone that's been on the indies for years and finally gets an opportunity. Those are the big moments to me. Edge, my favorite of all time. Other than Edge, I would love to announce The Undertaker just one time to say I did it. So I guess Edge versus The Undertaker. Like I said, I've announced at Madison Square Garden, so maybe a WrestleMania would be the only thing that I could think could top that. So I'd have to say, I guess Edge and The Undertaker at WrestleMania. If I could announce one match.
That's awesome.
That's a hell of a match to announce.
Yeah.
And I can also tell with you talking about that, and I say this too, with wrestling or with anybody in the wrestling business, you can tell when they have more passion for it. And I can definitely see, like, with you, like, you love the business, everything about it.
Yes.
And like that's even like makes it even better, because like just like we were talking about as you were trying to get up on the screen, that like Jey Uso's promo on Friday, like you can tell that came from like the heart. You can tell when it like means something. So like when I can tell as you speak, it's like you love exactly what you do, and that's like so dope. Because like definitely always wanted to go do that, like always wanted to go be in the wrestling world, and always and I want to still young, and I still got the opportunity, but to see someone that also has a passion from the beginning make it just gives me the to go even harder. Like definitely, I just definitely do that. We want. I can see like the energy that you have for it.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I can honestly say, whether there's thousands of people in the crowd or 200, I still get that same feeling. No matter who I'm announcing, I always try to make it sound like a big deal. I want everybody, my biggest thing is, I want someone to say, Nick's announcing me tonight, so I know it's going to be good. Because a lot of times the ring announcer's the ring announcer. And a lot of guys come to the ring and they're so focused on their match, they don't notice the ring announcer. And that's fine. I understand that. I know my role in the company or the business, whatever it may be. But there are those few guys that will come up to you after and say, hey, man, you really nailed my entrance tonight. And that's what makes you feel good whenever people notice that, because it doesn't happen a lot. And
so
I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the Pure tournament, because I do a little bit of a different style of announcing for the final match. And it's a little bit different, but it's kind of a style that I've been developing. So I'm anxious to see that, but we still have like 5 weeks for that. So I can't think about that.
So are you hoping to be like kind of that Howard Finkel of ROH now in your future?
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
Howard Finkel. Yeah. That's the guy right there,
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I feel like is lost now on wrestling is when I was a kid and looking back now at some of those big events, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, what have you, to me, I can still hear Howard Finkel announcing those people as they come to the ring. I remember Howard Finkel announcing when someone became a new champion. And no disrespect to Greg Hamilton, Mike Rome or even Lillian Garcia, because they're all good at their job. Everybody has a different way and everybody has their way of doing things, but it's kind of lost now. Whereas I don't think, and again, no disrespect to them, but I think 8 out of 10 wrestling fans don't even know who Greg Hamilton or Mike Rome are. You know, their style, it's just, and I don't think there will ever be anybody like Howard Finkel. I don't think anybody will ever
Never
top him or replace him. But for me, I can tell you right now, growing up, my favorite ring announcer was Tony Chimmel. I love Tony Chimmel.
Tony Chimmel was great. It was good. And that's the thing is I think like that's the big thing with ring announcers is like for me, like I watch wrestling and I get excited if like of course one of my superstars gets the big win. But to hear the actual announcer, like the way they deliver it, that gives me goosebumps too. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think when Randy Orton first won his very first title, the way it was announced when he first won against Chris Benoit, that gave me like that's what gave me the chills.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, Randy Orton's winner, but the way it was just announced, that I think that's what brings it. That's what the art is lost. You know?
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. Like you said, the art is lost because you know, and who knows, maybe it'll be me, but I don't know if there will ever be somebody that when they think of ring announcer, they think that person. You know, it's
so I have to ask, do you still watch the product? Like WWE, do you still follow the product?
There's so much to watch. You know, even if you're the biggest wrestling fan, you know, if you love wrestling and can't get enough of it and you watch everything, you have 3 hours of Raw, you know, 2 hours of Impact, 2 hours of NXT, 2 hours of SmackDown. If you watch Ring of Honor, if you watch MLW, you know, whatever's on, you know, it's almost impossible. And to a fault, you know, I watch everything Ring of Honor puts out, obviously, but now it's gotten to the point, WWE, I kind of skim through everything. If somebody is on the TV that I know, I'll stop and see what they're doing. But for the most part, I skim through things. I like to keep up with everything because like last week, I did a show with Ace Austin and Josh Alexander from Impact Wrestling. And just from skimming through and keeping up with everything, I knew what they were doing. I knew, you know, if they're heel, face, you know, because it's kind of embarrassing, you know, if you think you're a big star on Impact every week. And here comes this idiot ring announcer. How do you want me to announce you? Are you a good guy? Are you a bad guy? Like, you know, it makes them feel good and that you know who they are when you walk up to them. You know what I mean? And especially, I've worked with Josh and Ace before, but there are people that don't even think about the ring announcer. I've worked with some shows and there's someone that I've never worked with and I can't find them anywhere. I try to go and I try to get their info and they're missing. And you know, I hate to admit it, but sometimes I give them a real plain introduction, or I even make something up. Like, oh, that guy looks 240. I'm going to say he's 240. You know, you didn't come out, you know, you didn't come and find me. I was looking for you, you know, but that's just goes to show you that a lot of people don't think of the ring announcer. And me in the position I am, knowing my role, I understand that I'm very, you know, two sides of the coin here because a ring announcer can make or break a show, but I get that the ring announcer is not as important as the referee. The ring announcer is not as important as the wrestlers. I get all that. And there are some people that, okay, just get a guy out there in a suit to read this card and it'll be fine and I'll give you $5 because they don't want to pay for a quality ring announcer. But like you had mentioned before, if you have a great match and there's a title change and you have that ring announcer, that moment where they announce the new champion, that can make or break a show. You know, and a lot of times the ring announcer holds the show together too, which a lot of times, especially on the indies, which people don't realize is in between matches, I'm in the ring. Oh, look over here at so-and-so's merchandise stand. They have this, and check out our social media because we're going to be announcing matches for next month, you know, in between taping. And then I get a thing in my ear. Okay, we're coming back from commercial or whatever the deal is. You know, there's definitely a lot more to ring announcing that people don't get. I didn't even know until I started. I thought I stand there and I announce the guy and then I'm done. But the more you learn in the business, the better. Like I've done commentary, I've been a backstage interviewer, I've kept time, I've rang the bell, anything. And I've actually had a couple matches. Actually, I had 2 matches, if you want to call matches. We did a storyline in Cleveland where I was the good guy ring announcer, and one of the bad guys there, J-Rock, who I'm not sure if you're familiar with J-Rock. He brought out his own personal ring announcer, who of course was a heel character.
Yeah.
And nothing was ever planned. It was just J-Rock was going to have his own announcer. And after a few months, the people started, chanting my name at shows and booing him when he came out. And it got to the point where we had a tag team match, and it was me and the good guy wrestler versus J-Rock and his announcer. And it was so good, we did a rematch. I lost the first match because they cheated. And then we had the rematch, and it was 1-on-1, me and the other announcer, and I ended up winning. So I do know what it's like to be in the ring, and I'm actually kind of glad now that I thought I was too small back then, because I was so sore for days, and I'm not now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean? Like, number one, I wear a suit for a living. Number two, I'm already married. I have 2 kids. I don't need to be in the gym anymore. This is me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to the gym. I'm past that. So I wasn't in the best shape going in. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. But I mean, I'm tired. I've had weekends where I'm with Ring of Honor on a Friday in New York City, Ring of Honor on Saturday in Philadelphia, and then Sunday I'm at a local indie show in Cleveland or Pittsburgh or what have you. And by the end of those 3 days, I am completely spent. I just want to live in my bed for as long as I can and not think about doing anything else. And those guys do the same thing I do. They drive those roads for the same amount of hours I do, the same amount of days, but they get beat up every night. It's sometimes I have to look in the mirror, because I come home and I'm like, man, I was in New York. I drove 5 hours there, 5 hours back. I had production meetings and interviews to tape, and I didn't get out of there till midnight. And it's like, yeah, someone else did that, but they also, landed on their head bad and now have a stinger in their neck, or someone, also did what you did, but they're in a hospital right now because they have a concussion. So I'm very happy that I'm on that side of the business and not getting beat up.
Absolutely. Hey, Nick, we really appreciate you coming on the show, man. If you want to stay, we are doing our predictions for Clash of Champions this Sunday. If you want to give your take on some of these matches and who you might win,
absolutely.
Feel free to stay, man. Luch.
Absolutely. I feel bad because I feel like this. I've rescheduled with you guys a handful of times, and I had to push this back, so I apologize. So whatever you need, I can do that. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Luch, with the matches that we got coming up for Clash of Champions.
All right, Clash of Champions, Gold Rush. We got Raw Women's Championship, Asuka versus Zelina Vega.
I'm gonna have to go with Zelina Vega. I think it's her time.
Not yet. It's gonna be Asuka.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Asuka. I'm gonna agree there. Zelina Vega definitely will have that opportunity. I just feel like the last couple months, or the entirety of her run on the main roster at least, has been in a manager role. So I think it's a little too early. My opinion, I think Asuka is going to win, but they've done crazier things before, And if they want to roll with Zelina as a big star for the next few months, then I wouldn't be surprised at all if they give the belt to her. But I think I'm going to stick with Asuka. Not yet.
Then we got the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Nakamura and Cesaro versus Lucha House Party. There's no way Lucha House Party's winning.
No
way.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say Cesaro and Nakamura.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cesaro and Nakamura. I feel like they're definitely teasing the breakup of the Lucha House Party eventually. Looks like they're gonna maybe put Kalisto into a heel role, maybe, but who knows? It might be Grand Metalik that turns on him at the pay-per-view. Who knows? They could do anything. But I definitely think Nakamura and Cesaro are going to retain. They're definitely pushing towards that Lucha House Party split.
No, definitely. And I can't wait for it. The Street Profits versus Andrade and Angel Garza for the Raw Tag Team Championships. It's Street Profits still.
Yeah, for me it is as much, but I so want Angel Garza and Andrade to have the gold around their waist.
Yeah, that's hard because as a fan, you have to sit back and wonder why this match is even happening, because I think this is maybe the third time they've wrestled on pay-per-view for the tag titles, if not at least the second. And the Street Profits have won before. So what is there to make me believe that now all of a sudden, after beating these guys 2 times, that now they're going to lose the tag titles? Now, where you could go differently from that is it looked like Zelina Vega kind of dumped them off to the side. She's going to focus on her own singles career right now. So they might go with the story where now that Zelina is not with them, they're actually better off. And now that Zelina is not with them, now they do win the titles. And it was, oh, we never needed Zelina. Look at us now without her, So that reason alone, and for the fact that I just don't understand why it would make sense for those Street Profits to beat them again, I'm gonna go with Andrade and Angel Garza becoming the champions.
I wouldn't mind seeing it at all, but I just don't see it happening. Then we got the women's tag team championship, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax versus the Riot Squad. I don't see Shayna and Nia dropping it yet.
I just see it. I see that as they're just gonna bulldoze through them, almost.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I definitely see Shayna and Nia, winning the match on Sunday. I think that Liv Morgan and Ruby back together is great for both of them, because it seemed pretty obvious that with them apart, they couldn't really find a direction for either of them. So putting them together gets them both on TV, gets them more airtime. I like the pairing. I like them back together. But like you said, I think Nia and Shayna are going to bulldoze through the division for a while before their eventual feud.
Yeah.
Then we got the United States Championship match, Bobby Lashley versus Apollo Crews. Bobby's winning.
Yeah.
Bobby.
I'm loving the Hurt Business, so I'm going with Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Hurt Business, and for me, it's a big reason is because all of those guys are now in a prominent role consistently on TV. The last few years, like Shelton Benjamin has just been thrown into things, and Shelton Benjamin's been a main event waiting to happen for 10 years now, so longer than that. So it's good to see Shelton in a solid role. Same thing with Cedric Alexander. I love MVP as a mouthpiece. I was to this point, I'm still surprised that he's on TV as much as he was, because it seemed like he was going to make the quick return at the Royal Rumble, have a match, and then fade off into that producer role. But he's become a fixture on Raw, and especially Lashley, because I feel like when he first came back, he had a lot of trouble finding momentum, and I think this is great for his character. Put him with a mouthpiece, because talking's definitely not his strong suit. There's no reason to take the championship off of him. You could argue that it's only going to bury Apollo Crews and Ricochet more, but to this point, why? Cedric had it, and then Apollo had it, and then he lost it. Apollo got it back. It's just like, why give it to him again? I think this needs to be ended, and I think Bobby.
Yeah, and I think MVP has done tremendous work. Like you said, to come back in his role, he is a true MVP, because literally those guys that he has behind him were nothing when they came back. No one was talking about. They weren't on TV. They weren't doing anything. And MVP's like, give me these guys and let me do this. Let me run this the way, and it worked. So
it's a lot better than the Lana role he had. That's all I know.
Yes,
a lot better than that one. Then we have the IC title match: Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn in a ladder match. This is the one I'm actually looking forward to. I want to see Jeff win it, but I'm saying Sami.
I'm saying AJ.
I think AJ's the dark horse in all of this.
No,
if it was me, I would give it to Sami. just because he was doing great as the Intercontinental Champion in his run before, the pandemic hit and he had to drop the title. And he never really lost the championship. So I feel like a ladder match is a way to get that championship back on him without hurting AJ or Jeff in a pinfall scenario. It's not that Sami Zayn pinned Jeff Hardy. It's not that Sami Zayn pinned AJ Styles. It's that they were both out and Sami climbed up the ladder and grabbed the belt. That's what I would do, just to give him a real run with the championship. Will they do that? Probably not. I could see them just giving it to Jeff Hardy because, Sami and AJ are calling him a fraud, saying he's a cheater, he's not the real champion. So for Jeff to solidify himself as the champion, I could see them doing that, especially because it seems like they're going to strap the rocket to Jeff Hardy over the next few months. But if they are planning on pushing Jeff Hardy into the main event scene in the WWE Championship picture or Universal Championship picture on SmackDown, maybe they do need to get the championship off of him. So I'm gonna go with Sami Zayn just because that's what I would do.
And we got the SmackDown Women's Championship, Bayley versus Nikki Cross. I'm saying Nikki with interference from Sasha.
I'd have to still say Bayley. I don't think Nikki Cross is like women's championship material yet.
I don't know how it's going to end. I'm going to say that Bayley is going to leave with the championship. My guess for that would be some kind of a schmoz finish, some kind of a disqualification. You have Alexa Bliss with Bray Wyatt. You have Sasha Banks feuding with Bayley now in the former best friend, angle. You could see Sasha coming out and attacking Bayley, and therefore Bayley wins the match by disqualification. You could see something with Alexa where she's, in this daze and she attacks Nikki, or even Sasha and Alexa can mix it up and, end the match somehow. But what I said before, kind of like with the Street Profits and Andrade and Angel Garza, like I've seen this before. If I'm a fan, I've seen Nikki Cross versus Bayley 2 or 3 times, and every time Bayley wins. So why am I going to pay for this pay-per-view, or why am I going to, shell out my $9.99 a month for the network to watch Bayley and Nikki Cross when I've already seen it? So that's why I'm just thinking it's going to lean into some kind of DQ to go ahead and push the storylines with Bayley and Sasha and Nikki and Alexa on their own.
Yeah, the only way I see Nikki Cross winning is because they might do like something where Nikki Cross wins and Alexa comes in for like to give her a hug or whatever, and then gives her to Sister Abigail.
Yep.
I'll take it. WWE Championship match, Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton in an ambulance match. I don't know where they're taking this feud, to be honest. I've been trying to figure out. But I'm going to say they keep it on Drew.
They're probably going to keep it on Drew, but I would love to see Orton just take it.
I'm going to go with Orton because I feel next month is Hell in a Cell. I think this is a feud that could end in Hell in a Cell. They have the this blood feud mentality where both of these guys now absolutely hate each other. It's about more than the WWE Championship now that they're in an ambulance match. Both of these guys want to hurt each other. So for me, I think, and especially this is what I went back to with the ladder match. Something could happen where you get Drew in the back of the ambulance, you shut the door real quick. You could shut the door and he could burst right out and hit him with a Claymore, but he still lost the match. I feel like this is a way to push this feud to Hell in a Cell. I feel like that's why I would think Orton would win. Orton wins this match, and then they get the blow off to the feud at Hell in a Cell. Drew beats Randy. Drew keeps the title and then runs with it for a while. It's one of those things where Drew beat Randy at SummerSlam. So if Drew beats Randy in this match, and then Randy comes out and says, no, that's BS, I want another match at Hell in a Cell. Same thing I've said over and over already. Why am I going to pay to see this match for the 3rd time when every time Drew wins? So I think they're going to play a little flip flop with the title. I think Orton's going to have it for a couple weeks and eventually get it back to Drew.
All right, now we got the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. I would love to actually see Jey win. Even I don't care if it's for a night, but Roman's taking it. There's no way Roman does not win.
Yeah, I would love to see Jey win, but I think Roman's going to win. I think it's going to be by like Jay's brother coming out, Jimmy, and causing the distraction for him to lose against Roman. And then they
that'd be
form that
something.
Samoan Bond type deal.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Now that's a hard one for me because there's so many people out there that are saying, why is this match happening? But you have to think, Roman was gone for how long, and he says he wants to come back. You have to think that they had to give him a little bit of slack with, all right, you're coming back. Thank you. We missed you. We need you back. Who do you want to work with? And that's Roman looking out for his family, and not only looking out for his family, but looking out for somebody who hasn't had an opportunity as a single. Every time the Usos, one of them has been injured, one of them has been off TV, the other one has been pulled. There's been no singles push for either of them. So I know obviously I don't think there's anybody out there that thinks that Jey Uso is going to win the Universal Championship, which on the flip side is the best reason to give him the championship. They've done this how many times just because nobody will see it coming, and that's the only reason. But to me, going back on what we said earlier about growing up with a passion and what we said about Edge and everything, this is something that these two, along with Jimmy Uso, when they were kids, this is something they dreamed of their whole lives. Obviously, Jimmy and Jay dreamed when they were little to, we're going to be the tag team champions. Obviously,
and they got that. Yeah.
But obviously, there's three of them. They're going to be in the backyard at some point. One of them is going to be facing Roman as little kids, and you got to think like to be in the main event of a WWE pay-per-view against that same guy I wrestled in my backyard. That's a hell of a story for Jey Uso. And Uso, both are awesome, so to get this opportunity, I definitely think it's a placeholder. I definitely think that Roman is going to move on and into a bigger feud here in the next couple weeks. But as a sidebar, to get that story going and to give somebody an opportunity in a main event like that, I think is awesome. So I'm looking forward to that match.
I think when I watch that match tomorrow, I'm going to look for the story being told in the ring. If you can give me a really good storytelling in the ring of all that passion that you have in those promos, and you bring it out in the fighting, and you give me that story, either one wins. It's going to be a great storyline from there on. But you have to kind of bring all the three of them together, in the end, as that Samoan tribe, as Roman on top, the two underneath, and I think it comes down to The Rock eventually coming through and facing Roman.
Yep.
In the end,
see it all happening. It looks the foundation's there, so it could happen. We'll just have to wait and see the next couple months.
Yeah. But I think that's all for our matches for the
that's it
for Clash of Champions.
Clash of Champions Gold Rush. That's it.
27.
But once again, thanks, man, Nick. Thank you for coming on the show, man. We have like I said, we've been trying for weeks to make this happen. So
yeah, I'm sorry, man.
It happens, man. It happens.
Yes, stuff happens. Sorry. So I hope it gave you guys everything you needed. And I apologize for taking this long, but we got it.
Oh, that's all right, man. Any word of advice for anybody out there that are fans that are young, that are looking to get to go your path, or not even just your path, just to get into that business?
I feel like the people that want it and want nothing else will get there. They're my whole life, no matter what I was doing, where I was thinking wrestling. When I was at a Pittsburgh Pirates baseball game, I was thinking, how cool would it be to have WrestleMania here and for me to announce the main event and the fireworks to go off at PNC Park? Like, how cool would that be? And, when I was in TV school, I wanted, to be the guy 5 years later, like, oh, this guy actually, is on TV, but there was nothing else. It wasn't, well, if I don't make it in this wrestling thing, I can do this. There was no backup. And there are a lot of guys that, you mentioned you had gotten injured, maybe something else happened. There's a lot of guys that get injured and that scares them. If you're training for a few weeks and you break your leg, that's a big eye opener. Do I even want to come back from this? I'm going to be, on crutches for the foreseeable future. I got to do all this physical therapy to get back. And then I'm back at square one. So a lot of those guys say, oh, it isn't worth it. Or a lot of guys, have gone the safe route and have made careers for themselves. And when they try wrestling, they do it for a year or two, whatever, and they realize they're making a lot more money at their regular job, and they just decide to stop. And it was that way for a while. The indies, depending on where you are, a lot of indies don't pay well. It's, a lot of the indies' purpose is to give you exposure. And it's obviously worked. There have been people from IWC, many other places that are on TV every week now. Britt Baker came from IWC. Yeah. She's another one that's, one of the biggest women's stars around. And she came from IWC, same thing, like I mentioned, Wardlow, Jonathan Gresham wrestles with IWC. If you really want it, you just won't say no. And no matter what, you will keep going, and eventually you will get it. And I feel like a lot of the people that are in this business and have made it that far have that mindset that this is what I want to do, and no one's going to tell me no, and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to show you all that I am going to do what I said I was going to do, and that's the mentality you have to have. You got to have thick skin in this business, man. You can't work one match and one promoter tell you, you suck, and then that's the end of it. Oh, well, I'm not good. I'm going to stop. A lot of guys that are on TV now, were told that they would never make it, and they persevered, so you just got to believe in yourself and not say no. And people that follow their dreams, they get them if you really want it.
And I think we have to ask, because me and Luch were talking about this before he came on, man. Luch, apparently, he calls himself Loudmouth Luch, and he's the champion, man. Would you give us the honor of announcing him as our Loudmouth Luch champion of Off the Top Rope?
Okay, so what is it? The Off the Top Rope champion, Loudmouth Luch?
Yeah.
That's what you want me to say? Okay.
Yeah.
He is the Off the Top Rope champion, Loudmouth Luch.
That's just awesome, man. Thank you. We couldn't let you go without doing an actual announcement there, man. Had to get it in. But once again, thank you so much for coming on, man. We appreciate it. We hope to have you on again sometime. And maybe let those guys know at ROH, we are always wanting to interview anybody that come on our show to get them out there, man. Yeah, we'd love to have we'd even love to have like Bob Cruz come on, man. Like, we'd love to have as you call him, the mouth.
I don't know if you could afford Bobby Cruz. My God.
We will make it work.
We'll work something out.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Once again, folks, that was Nick Lendl, one of the voices of ROH, announcer at ROH, and we are so happy to have him on. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Once again, please go to bombshellbowling.com /Loudmouth Sports Talk for your Loudmouth apparel. T-shirts, $20. Our hoodies, $40. Make sure you get them while they're hot today, folks. Luch, you got yourself a nice introduction from Nick Lendl as the champion and didn't even have his championship belt around his waist.
Yeah. Oops.
But once again, I am Sean, the Off the Top Rope chief.
This guy.
Because this is my show. And I'm here with Loudmouth Luch. Which Luch, I'm going to tell you right now, that belt that you carry will be soon in my possession.
Listen, next week we're going to do Promo Wars, the first ever Promo Wars. It's going to be me versus Sean. Be ready, Sean.
Oh, I'm ready now. What are you talking about? Luch,
Be ready.
as Roman would have said, that championship, Luch, is supposed to be around my shoulders for our family.
Be ready.
That feeds my kids.
Be ready.
I'll be
Be
ready.
ready.
Yeah,
Next
I'll be
week.
ready. And next week, Promo Wars, me versus Luch in the Promo Wars. It is going to get personal because we are family. But maybe in the near future, there will be a match to where I take that gold. But from Off the Top Rope Chief, Sean, and Loudmouth Luch, we see you guys here next week on Loudmouth Off the Top Rope, 4 p.m. Don't miss out, guys.